Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga-Texas construction update video.
Well, welcome to another Friday here at Giga-Texas. As you can see, it's overcast, a little windy, but overall not too bad to fly today. Of course, it is a Friday, which means it's non-production day, which is a typical thing that's been going on for about a year. Despite that, we do see a lot of activity over on the outbound lot, specifically with mini Cybertrucks. So despite what may or may not be going on and what you've been hearing, it looks like they continue to build a lot of the Cybertrucks in addition to the Model Ys. So I think that's a great sign, and we'll just continue to monitor that. A couple other things I want to just talk about briefly before we get into the drone flight. First of all, we're just about 2 weeks away from June, and of course, everybody is expecting to see the robo-taxi fleet announcement and whatever presentation and activities that Tesla has in mind. And so just 2 weeks away, that's not a lot. We are seeing a few indications though that they are getting ready for that across the world with FSD. Just yesterday, or actually this morning, early this morning, Tesla released a couple of videos talking about FSD being tested in Europe, specifically over in France, and also down in Australia. And of course, that's very important because in Australia, they use right-hand drive. So now FSD is scaling, and around the time we're gonna expect the robo-taxi announcement in just a few weeks. So I think overall that is great indicators. And if I find out anything more about what's going on with the June event, I'll let you know, but hopefully we'll hear something pretty soon. The last thing that I want to just mention briefly in the intro is I'm wearing my Starbase shirt. That's because Starship Flight 9 could be coming up as soon as next week, although there's still a little bit of work that needs to be done on Ship 35 to make sure it is ready, and then get it out to the orbital launch mount, get that full stack, and get all of the rest of the NOTAMs, the NOTMARs, the road closures, and get that final approval from the FAA for the launch. Now, yesterday the FAA did release some updates. They mentioned that the mishap for Flight 8 is still open, and that needs to be completed or a separate approval from the FAA to be able to launch the Starship. So right now I'm watching that. I know a lot of other people are as well. As far as making travel plans, I haven't made any yet. So we'll have to see what is going on next week. I may be heading down on Tuesday, which means I'll get a flight done on Monday, and then we'll see what the rest of the week is like. So anyway, that's a couple of updates here on the intro. So let's get the drone in the air and fly around this windy Giga-Texas and see what's going on today. As always, thank you very much for your support. I appreciate it. Have a great weekend.
If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description. If you are considering purchasing Starlink, I would recommend that you use my referral link at the bottom of the screen. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga-Texas. Good morning from the overcast east side of Giga-Texas. If you look at the bottom of the screen, you'll see these pathways, kind of the dirt roads that are the way to get around this green belt. And of course, down in that area is where that ecological open to the public area will be eventually. Now, as we get in a little bit lower, we can take a look at these workshops where all of those pipe segments are being fabricated. And you can see some of them on the ground, some of them in the actual workshops themselves. And many of these are being used in that south end, possibly related to that permit we discussed about stamping 2 for the Stamping Bay 5 that is under construction right now inside the factory. So anyway, good look at that operation. This is the East Warehouse on wheels, and you can also see some of those open kind of trailers at the bottom left, and some of that is used for recycling of the metal or the steel parts that are scraps from the stamping process. Of course, the aluminum parts are moved up to the melt center at the northeast side and are melted down and used for castings. And it's just a great way to see how they do the recycling here. Now, this material staging yard also has some of those pipes that are being manufactured. Those are being stored here temporarily until they are installed inside that stamping structure. As we go over the cyber circle, what I'm trying to show you is all of the platforms along this side of the factory. I'll zoom in and you can see one of them getting some more building materials that are being moved inside. On the right-hand side, you can see that secondary main entrance with the glass, some of the plywood, and they have some plastic sheets on the inside. Here's a view looking in at the work that is being done here to load up some of these structures. It's really hard to tell from this distance exactly what that is, but it almost looks like window sections. So they may be putting in kind of dividers that have glass amongst some of the production equipment that they are installing inside. Now, as I continue to pan down towards the south, you can see some of the wall segments above the receiving doors have plastic on them. It looks like those are opened up. This is that new one for the third floor. And then here's the one that's been here for some time for the second floor. Of course, all of this is to load in more equipment and building materials to build out that section. And later on in the video, I'm going to show you yet another part of the building being opened up for another loading platform. So the work inside is definitely increasing. At the parking garage on the ground, that privacy fence is still there, plus the sixth floor has that privacy curtains. Don't really see a lot except that one vehicle, which may be doing some testing on the roof today. As we get to this southeast corner, just flying over the W&W Glass Company's workshops and temporary storage location. Some of this is the glass that will be used for that open section that you can see in the top center of the screen, just above the the cooling plant. And they're just having that all open up because there's yet another temporary platform that will be loading up equipment. Now, here's what the trenching looks like today. It does look like some of the concrete has been poured inside that trench, so they may be getting close to filling that back in. This is the east side of that cooling plant on the ground. They still have that blue and black pipe that goes across that paved section, and they use that to drain out some of the water into that pond. And of course, this is that view of the open section with the glass, that temporary platform, and just what this looks like here today. I haven't seen a lot of equipment being moved into this platform, but I just expect that's only a matter of time. So I'm going to bring the drone down between the building and the power lines and the cooling plant on the left, give you a closer view of what this looks like as we cross by that platform and then enter into this southeast corner. And kind of a nice wrap on that vehicle, by the way. And anyway, as we continue around the southeast corner, looking to the south end, a nice look at that trench work that's been filled in next to River Road in the center of the screen, the cyber pond, and just how green the grass has become with all the rain and, of course, the spring-like weather that we've been having here around the site. As we continue to fly towards the South Bridge, I'll bring the drone up just a little bit. We'll go over the road, and I want to show you the work that is being done next to this caisson. You do see some of the auger drills at the bottom of the screen, some of the pipes and the trench boxes, and of course across the newly paved highway, and you can see that very dark black surface. We saw that other caisson. We'll get a closer view of that here in a moment. But as I bring the drone down, you can tell within that gravel area, that caisson, it's just filled with water at the bottom. There's really not any other activity there. But next to it is where the crews are installing or preparing to install more of that large water pipe or treated water pipe that we see being installed and trenching up further to the north. And we'll see more of that here later as well. The other thing I noticed that I wanted to come across the road and show you is this opening on this southwest corner is getting some more framing, and you can see that on the right hand side. It's interesting because they're using steel framing rather than putting glass in. So I am not sure what to expect as far as this entrance, but it's going to be a little different than what I expected because it'll have something beyond just glass. So we'll get the chance to see that over the next week or two as it completes its assembly, and we'll see what it looks like. As I get to this section, we can tell that the concrete that was being removed on my previous video now has some rebar back in, so it looks like it was a small repair. They're going to be pouring concrete here very soon. Also, the crews are preparing to install glass. We can see the glass panes on those racks at the bottom of the screen, and they're just getting ready for that section to be filled back in. So that's a big milestone too, to get that part of the factory all finally completed and joined in with the new extension. So I'm going to look across the highway. Again, you can see that newly paved section, and I expect the rest of it to be done here soon. Also a good look at the outbound lot and some of the activity. Many vehicles still there today, even though it's not a production day, but they're getting ready for the transport operations. And as we kind of continue on the other side of the highway, a good view here of the West Warehouse on wheels. I bring the drone down and it will fly to the south over the Cyber Tunnel towards that caisson that you can see next to the yellow crane, and we'll take a look inside. There's some development here and also on the other side of the Colorado River. But first of all, here we see more of those pipe segments lined up waiting to be lowered down in, and then use those hydraulic rams to put it into the bore of the tunnel that is being created by that tunnel boring machine. And we'll see that here at the south end of the Colorado River. But here's a good view inside. You can see those hydraulic rams, another one of the concrete segments, and it's being pushed into that bore. So based on the number of concrete segments that I see around this area, they still have a lot to go, but they are definitely getting closer to the south bank of the Colorado River, and I'll show you that here in just a second. In my last video, we were able to see that they had an opening for the tunnel boring machine kind of carved into the concrete wall on the north end. Today we see the boring machine on the ground getting ready for some assembly, and if we look down inside, we're going to see this looks like a steel casing, possibly part of the boring machine, being set up, and that opening where the workers are, how that will connect into that tunnel that extends all the way up to the caisson that we were just seeing on the north bank of the Colorado River. So definitely progress here as these are getting ready to be joined in, and then that's going to continue further to the south to join up with yet another caisson. So great view across the Colorado River back to Giga-Texas, and kind of just showing you where that underground tunnel is going right now. As I maneuver the drone back over River Road and towards this material staging yard, a couple of things that I do want to point out. Besides all the steel for continuing to build out mezzanines and other structures inside the building, is all of the transformers. Now with the grouping that are here, some of the new ones that have been recently delivered, and on a different section, which I'll show you momentarily, there's at least 4 different brands and 4 different types of transformers here. Now yesterday, one of my viewers and also a YouTube creator and content creator, S.E. Robinson, reported that XAI is doing the same thing, and they're working on contracts to get suppliers for a lot more transformers. So with you continue, or do you think about with XAI and now Tesla doing the same thing, it's very likely that these are related to the data centers in some way. And perhaps they're just trying to get as many of them as possible and get them stored, because transformers are a limiting factor as AI data centers continue to build out across the country and the world. As I mentioned, here's the other grouping. We have seen more of the transformers being delivered in, especially on the upper right-hand side of the screen here. And there are at least 2 different versions of transformers in this area as well. So again, they're just continuing to kind of stockpile all of these transformers here at Giga-Texas. Now, the outbound lot is actually quite busy considering that this is not a production day. All of this is what we're seeing is production from yesterday. You can see on both sides, there's a lot of Model Ys, a lot of the Cybertrucks, pretty much in every trim and color. And as we continue to get in closer, just a good view of the operations. The superchargers are quite busy this morning. We also see this grouping of vehicles right on the west side of the end of line facility, and those black and yellow items, not really sure what those are, but it's kind of interesting to see that those are close to where the vehicles are. More of them being lined up here and getting ready for movement to the outbound lot for pickup. And of course, more of them on the north end. Now, one of the things that did stand out to me was the number of Cybertrucks that have been built over the last couple of days. And this grouping that you see here is bulk of what we have been over the last 40 hours constructed here at the factory. Now, all of these appear to have the tonneau covers, which means they're either Cyber Beast or all-wheel drives. And there's some speculation with the recent trip over to the Middle East by the Trump administration, and of course with Elon Musk, and some agreements to possibly sell more of the Cybertrucks and Teslas over in Saudi Arabia, that perhaps these are headed that way. I don't really know. It's hard to tell for sure, but there are definitely a lot of them. So I'm going to continue to fly to the north along this north to south roadway, and I wanted to take a quick update look at the work that's going on here with the welding shops at the bottom of the screen, a lot of the Evapco units and other connecting parts and pieces and pipes, plus all of the steel that's being stored here. And we'll take a look at this construction area. Now, what is kind of interesting is, despite the permits that we've been seeing, it looks like it's kind of this L-shaped section that is being prepared with the gravel. In addition to that, on the north end, it looks like they're putting in some parking bumpers, and usually that's indicating where the vehicles will be parked. Now, I don't know if this is just for the workers to park while they're continuing to work on this section, or if maybe at least in the short term, they're going to be using this for more material storage. I'm not really sure, but definitely something I will continue to monitor. And as I maneuver the drone around, this gives you a good idea of what this site looks like, at least up to this point in time. And like I said, with the permits and with what we're seeing on the ground, sometimes there are mismatches. The timeline between construction and what the permits say can change, so that may be what's going on. But for right now, we'll just keep monitoring it and see what they do. So I'm going to get ready to cross over the highway, and you can see one of the transport trucks loaded up here, waiting for its time to depart. And that's a view across the highway to the other side as we've resumed on this side of the highway. I'm going to maneuver along the west berm, and you can see all of the dirt section where that trenching has been underway, and they've been putting in a lot of conduit and also a water pipe throughout this section. And as I bring the drone down even more, we can see that work continuing, and it's moving its way towards the south, getting closer to the flagpoles. We also see some gravel near the flagpoles where this work will pass by at some point. But this is the current look at what this operation appears like today. Those purple wrapped pipes on the right-hand side of the screen are what they are installing right now. And these are very similar to what we've seen on the south end, where that caisson was and those trench boxes. So anyway, they continue to do this work. While I was here, I noticed that there was a crane lifting up some items onto this new loading platform. The door is open, and on this yard truck, we see more steel parts. So obviously, they're using this now to continue with the interior build out for new production areas. There's also this yard truck with larger steel. I think it's getting ready to go over to that crane to lift these items up, and this is usually associated with mezzanines. Here's that new entranceway with the bus dropping off a lot of employees. And then over here on this side by the 4680s, I noticed not only the battery cell can recycling at the bottom of the screen, but also looks like they're getting ready to pour some more concrete in this section, or perhaps move it into the inside. I'm not really sure, but it's interesting just to see all of the various construction that is continuing, even in areas that look like they're almost done. As we get to the north end of the building, a couple of things to point out here. We do see some deliveries on the bottom right and of some building equipment. I also saw a large truck with crates being delivered later on, not in the video. In the north part of the paint shop, we see all these stands with the blanks for the bumpers. This is what the bumpers are placed on for painting. They also have the mirrors and some other parts, the trim pieces that get painted, and that is what those are for. On the northeast side, we see a lot of these rack mounts filled with castings. The closest ones to us here at the bottom of the screen are Cybertruck front castings. And as we continue along, we'll see some more of those. And then here is some trimmed Cybercab castings. And this is what they look like with that trimming completed. And these are also in a different location than what we have seen previously. Normally, they're on this side of the site, on the ground, or along with these rack mounts. As we pass over these castings on the bottom of the screen, those are Cybertruck rear castings. And of course, we see some of the items here. They have been moved inside, but they're part of the Giga press being installed inside, the aluminum recycling that's going on, the skimmer device, that yellow item on the right-hand side of the screen. And of course here, more of the front castings for the Cybercabs. And most of the other rack mounts have got Cybercab castings as well. As I maneuver the drone, get a little bit higher, this is a nice look at the baghouse filtration plant. There have been reports and visual sightings that this is now operational. In addition to that, with that aluminum melting process, I could easily hear the furnace flues roaring today. So they were definitely in the process of melting down aluminum while I was flying. I also noticed this crane. At first, I wasn't sure what it was doing, but as I continue to maneuver over the power lines, it's pretty clear that this is where they are getting ready to remove another wall panel. And they've also removed the glass windows through this section. This is usually in preparation for a loading platform so that they can load equipment inside. So this is definitely an interesting development, and this is very similar to the other temporary platforms that we've seen all along the east side of the factory. And it just indicates more work on the inside to reconfigure the existing part of the factory. And as we talked about on my last two videos, there are a lot of permits that cover that work as well. On the east parking lot, this is where we were talking about permits for new trailers. This is to relocate the Welcome Center, the orientation, security, training, and other offices. And this work is obviously continuing as they get ready to assemble all of these trailers into the format that they need for operation. And that will allow the old trailers just to the upper left of the screen coming into view to be able to be moved away for construction. All of these concrete vaults are temporarily stored here, will be used on this construction site. And as I get closer in, pass over this temporary warehouse, this is a nice look at the progress of the Cortex 2 building. It's about 50% assembled, at least structurally right now, with the roof decking as well. I'm going to bring the drone down lower. I wanted to show you the work on the perimeter grade beam that is going on. It also looks like they are starting to do some work that will be associated with lining the ground with trenches and utilities, and that'll all be done before they will pour the concrete slab. And at this altitude, you can look through the structure and kind of get a good view of what that appears like. With the workers, it also gives you an idea of the scale of how tall this single-story structure really is. And while I was here, I was going to take advantage of my height above the ground to give you a almost ground view of the die shop, what it would look like if you were standing here. And then I'm going to turn back to the Cortex 2 building and give you a look along this east side from the south to the north. And as I bring the drone up, a good kind of appreciation for the amount of roof decking that has been installed to now, and the amount of the steel structure that has been added since my last video. I'd say it's actually closer to about 60 to 70% assembled now, and that just shows you how quickly this is progressing. So while we're here, I'm going to maneuver the drone to look back to the south along the warehouse on wheels on the east side, and also on this far east side where a lot of the materials, contractor trailers, and equipment are currently stored. Also below us is the Tesla Road extension that will continue through this area once they get all the rest of the underground utilities and pipes installed. And I did also notice that there was work today building out, or at least deepening, the drainage trench here. This may be related to preparing for more of the underground water management pipes that will run through this section. So it'll be something I will monitor. As we get closer to the crash test facility, I'll zoom in. You can see that they have a vehicle. I don't know if it's getting ready for crash testing or if it's just parked there or not, but it's kind of a rare view inside of that structure. And as I zoom back out and fly above the kind of Quonset hut, we can see next to it all of the crashed vehicles that are kind of parked here for the moment. And there is also some black vehicles. I didn't really linger there too long, but it's kind of curious to see all of those lined up, probably for crash testing. As we pass the cell testing lab and some of the pipes for the underground management system, just a view quickly up to the northeast and what that looks like. Of course, more of the materials stored here at the bottom of the screen, and a nice view back towards the cathode plant, the die shop, and the new construction zone with that Cortex 2 building. I'll bring the drone down lower so we can just get a view of the steel that has been delivered, and the cranes are busy preparing to move them to the footings that they need to be at so that they can continue the construction. This is also a nice view back towards the main factory, and a good view to see how much of the structure still needs to be assembled. And as fast as the steel is arriving, they are installing it. So this is going quite quickly. I'm going to pan the drone back to the west along the entire construction zone so you can kind of get a view of what this appears like. A lot of water in that water detention pond because of the rains that we've been having. And this section is where they are preparing for the expansion of the electrical switch yard. And there's some excavation work that is going on here at the north end. The other thing just to notice is that that original water detention pond is completely gone. They still have those power poles on those islands that need to be removed to allow the construction and to continue, and that will be happening pretty soon. As I fly over the power lines, I look back to the east along that entire construction zone. So good overview of what that looks like and the perspective from the electrical switch yard. There's also a new change, and that's coming into view here at the center of the screen, is this new drive path that's going to allow access to the switchyard on the south end, and then over to this new temporary road next to the electrical system for the Megapack 1. And I think that's going to eventually be paved in. I have seen permits and diagrams from a while ago of what that's supposed to look like, and that now they are starting to make it look like the permit. So we'll watch that, but I do expect that to be paved. As we come back over the power lines, I'm going to look down at Megapack 2, where we do see activity today, specifically here on this side where more spools of cable are being delivered, and the crews are lining out the cables to prepare for even more connections. And with the size of the spool and the workers next to them, you can get a good idea of the scale. And there's some workers with an open cabinet installing more of those cables. And as we come up to the north end, we'll see that the crews are busy with this kind of cabinet or trailer. Many of the doors are open, and they're preparing for even more of the connections. And this will help with the entire operation of Megapack 2. So I'm going to bring the drone up to a higher altitude, and we'll prepare to end this video for the weekend. And I hope that you enjoyed what we were able to talk about in the intro, specifically with the FSD being rolled out all over the world now, which I think is a great sign for the Robotaxi unveiling that's coming up in just a couple of weeks here in Austin. As always, thank you very much for your support. I do appreciate it, and it helps me do what I do. And thank you very much. Have a great weekend.